Tonight I want to tell you a story. A story for the black voices. A story that moves gently. One that sits beside you like an old friend. Take a slow breath. And let me begin. In a grand hotel ballroom filled with warm golden light, there stood a young man named Daniel Brooks. 35 years old. Calm in posture. Dressed in a simple dark suit. His shoulders steady. His face thoughtful. Daniel had grown up in a small southern town, raised by his grandmother who believed in quiet strength. She used to say, "Respect is something you carry inside, not something others hand to you." Daniel never forgot that. That evening, the room buzzed with polite laughter. Crystal glasses chimed softly. Men and women in elegant clothing gathered for what everyone believed was an important signing dinner. An $800 million corporate agreement. Among them were two other young professionals. Clara Whitmore, 32 years old. Bright blonde hair falling neatly around her shoulders. Wearing a deep green evening dress. Energetic. Confident. Used to being admired. And beside her, her colleague Marcus Hale, 37 years old. Tall. Sharp smile. Dark tailored suit. The kind of men who believed the room naturally belonged to him. They thought Daniel was hotel staff. He stood quietly near the front, reviewing a small leather folder. Waiting. Clara leaned toward Marcus and whispered, "Some people should try harder to look the part." Marcus chuckled softly. They did not bother lowering their voices. Daniel heard them, but he did not respond. There is a certain silence. Those who have lived long enough understand. It is not weakness. It is patience. Many of you listening tonight, perhaps in your 50s or your 60s, know that silence well. You have walked into rooms where people judged you too quickly. Maybe because of your clothes, your accent, your skin, or your background. And you learned, over time, that dignity does not require permission. The signing ceremony was about to begin. Clara decided to entertain the nearby guests. With playful bravado, she lifted a glass of red wine. Laughing. Her voice bright. Her confidence loud. "Well, since he seems so serious, let us lighten him up." Before anyone could stop her, she stepped forward and poured the red wine over Daniel's head. The dark liquid streamed down his face, soaking into his hair, dripping onto his suit. Gasps filled the room. Marcus laughed at first, until he noticed something. Daniel did not shout. He did not curse. He simply closed his eyes for a brief second. Perhaps he remembered his grandmother's kitchen. The smell of cornbread baking. Her gentle hands guiding his, teaching him how to stand tall in hard moments. When he opened his eyes again, they were steady. Calm. The room grew silent. An older gentleman at the head table, 70 years old, silver hair, rose slowly from his seat. This was Mr. Jonathan Price, chairman of the board. His voice carried the quiet weight of experience. "Clara. Marcus. I believe you owe Mr. Brooks an apology." Clara blinked. Confused. Apology? For what? He works here, does he not? Mr. Price turned his eyes toward her. "Mr. Brooks is the owner of this company. The one signing the $800 million acquisition tonight. You poured wine on the men funding your future." The silence that followed felt longer than any speech. Clara's face drained of color. Marcus stepped back, his confident smile gone. Daniel gently removed a handkerchief from his pocket, wiping the wine from his cheek. In that moment, he could have humiliated them, could have raised his voice, could have returned cruelty with cruelty. But he remembered something else his grandmother once told him. Power is proven not when you win, but when you forgive. Daniel finally spoke. His voice was calm, deep, Unhurried. Ms. Whitmore. Mr. Hale. You mistook my position. But I hope you will not mistake my values. We are here to build partnerships. And partnerships require respect. Clara swallowed hard. Her voice shaking. I am deeply sorry, Mr. Brooks. Marcus nodded quickly. We misjudged you. And that is on us. Daniel studied them for a moment. Then he said something unexpected. Tonight. The deal will go forward. Not because I was insulted. But because business should not fall to ego. But tomorrow. We will revisit leadership roles. Because leadership without humility cannot survive long. Older listeners might feel something stirring here. You remember workplaces decades ago, where pride sometimes cost good people their chances, where bias walked freely, unchallenged. Times have changed. Slowly. Not perfectly. But they have shifted. And stories like this are part of that change. The signing continued. Mr. Price personally escorted Daniel to a private room, where staff offered him a fresh suit. As Daniel adjusted his cufflinks, he stared briefly at himself in the mirror. Wine stains washed away. But lessons remained. Across the hall, Clara sat alone. Her laughter gone. Her reflection showing someone she did not entirely recognize. Marcus paced quietly. Later that evening, Daniel requested a private conversation with both of them. They entered his office hesitantly. Daniel gestured toward chairs. Sit. They did. He spoke softly. I do not believe tonight defines who you are. But it does reveal something. Clara nodded. Tears gathering. I thought I had earned everything by merit. I forgot that privilege can blind. Marcus added. I believed confidence meant dominance. I see now it sometimes means listening. Daniel leaned back. When I was a boy, my grandmother cleaned houses. Some of those houses belonged to families who never learned her name. But she always said, work with grace. Even when others do not. I built this company remembering her. We serve people from many backgrounds, races, beliefs. A company survives when it reflects the world honestly. If you wish to continue here, it will require growth. Clara looked up. I am willing. Marcus followed. So am I. Daniel nodded slowly. Then growth begins tomorrow. Years passed. Clara and Marcus stayed. But they changed. Clara began mentoring young women of color entering finance, remembering the humiliation she once caused. Marcus started community outreach programs in neighborhoods his company once overlooked. Daniel never mentioned the wine again. But that story quietly moved through boardrooms. Teaching without shouting. Listeners in your 50s and 60s. You may recall moments when you saw injustice. Moments when you wished someone had stood with quiet strength. Maybe you were that someone. The Black voices exist for stories like this. Not stories of revenge, but stories of transformation. Daniel often returned to his hometown. Sitting on the porch of the house his grandmother left him. Rocking gently. Listening to summer cicadas. He would smile. Thinking how far he had come. Not measured only in dollars, but in dignity. Clara visited once. Bringing flowers. Meeting the neighbors. Marcus joined too. They listened to Daniel speak about opportunity. About education. About building doors instead of walls. Those who once poured wine now poured resources into scholarships. The $800 million deal flourished, creating jobs across communities. And sometimes, life teaches in ways that feel sharp, embarrassing, even painful. But if the heart remains open, those sharp moments become turning points. If you are listening tonight, perhaps you remember being underestimated. Perhaps you remember underestimating someone. Age brings perspective. Wrinkles carry lessons. Gray hair carries patience. Daniel turned 40. Then 45. Still composed. Still remembering his grandmother's wisdom. Clara and Marcus matured alongside him. One evening during another company celebration, Clara raised a glass, her voice steady, to Daniel, who taught us that power without kindness is fragile, and that humility builds stronger foundations than pride. They clinked glasses. No wine fell. Only understanding rose. And if you take anything from this story tonight, let it be this. Judgment is quick. Respect is lasting. Silence can carry strength. Forgiveness can rewrite futures. The Black Voices believe that dignity deserves to be heard. We share stories so hearts can soften. So rooms can change. So mistakes can become bridges. Thank you for spending these quiet minutes with me. If this story touched you, if it reminded you of your own journey, please take a moment. Like, share, subscribe, and comment Iski complete bana do. Your voice matters here. On the Black Voices. Until next time. Stay gentle. Stay wise. And keep listening.